We're opening today's event with a behind-the-scenes look at our town's Emergency Operations Center staff, their work before, during, and after the storm. Everyone knows it as, we work together as the EOC. Let me tell you a little bit about it. When a storm is predicted to impact local area, the state, county, and towns begin opening their Emergency Operations Center. This is essential to the core group of individuals who will coordinate emergency response, recovery support, disaster management during an emergency. These individuals may communicate in person or virtually, depending on the situation. Our panelists today are some of the individuals who will join together in the Emergency Operations Center to plan emergency operations during storms and other crisis situations. I will provide a hurricane scenario today, and then we're going to provide a behind-the-scenes look at the work that they do and what information they want to pass on to you to keep you safe. But before we start, why don't our panelists introduce themselves and their job role and their role in the EOC. If you don't mind, there, you can go ahead and start.
Hello. Okay, good. Again, my name is Derrec Becker. I'm the Chief of Public Information for the South Carolina Emergency Management Division. My position and the two wonderful people sitting at our table there is basically to coordinate the state's message or coordinate all emergency information that you need to know essentially before, during, and after a major disaster. That involves establishing what we would call a joint operation with a bunch of different state agencies. That's how Bob and I got to know each other, and also working with our local emergency managers and our first responders to make sure that the message is simple, it's easy to translate, it's easy to be understood, so that you don't have to go too far or have to expend too much energy to understand it, because we know you're stressed, we know you got a lot going on, you got tons of things to do. We want our message to be very, very simple and succinct. Beautiful day like today, now's the time to read the complicated message, to read the 16-page hurricane guide. But when that hurricane actually comes, hopefully you've done your plans, hopefully you've done everything you need to, so all you really need to know is when you need to go or if you need to go. So that's really where we're at now. Of course, we changed all of our hurricane evacuation zones this year, so we focused very heavily on Know Your Zone or Know Your New Zone, and we'll talk about a couple of the different tools that you can use. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Mike Burrell. I'm a captain with the Charleston County Sheriff's Office. I've been there for 27 years now. I've worked with all these people in one way, shape, or form. I am the captain over the Patrol Support Division. What does that mean? That means I have people that work underneath me for road closures, directing traffic. I am probably the go-to guy for evacuations. I've been part of it, been knee-deep in it, and I think the biggest thing when a storm is coming, that stress level from everybody, to include us, don't think that we're not prone to that. It's just the stress level. So I think the key word would be patience. Patience when you're leaving, patience when you're trying to come back if a storm does happen. But we will be here throughout it, before, during, and after. So rest assured, properties will be safeguarded by law enforcement and by Kiowa and Seabrook. We'll get you home when something bad happens.
Good morning, my name is David Abrams. I'm the director of Charleston County EMS. And I think during the storm, what you'll see from us is we will be up at the Emergency Operations Center. We are part of the Central Emergencies ESF 8 with health. We're right next to DHEC and the hospital systems. We're sitting at the same table right behind law enforcement to really communicate at the EOC from an emergency management standpoint. As the hurricane approaches, we start shifting our operation from normal operations over to taking the lead from our emergency manager. So we'll be on conference calls every morning, 2 or 3 times a day, to try to coordinate all resources, explain where we are. About 2 days before the storm, we'll do a recall of all of our staff, which means that everybody who is on duty is actually in the field, and those who are off duty are still being paid to rest and sleep at the station, so that we can rotate crews so that we don't have an interruption. About 5 days before storm, we're asking all of our employees to please start preparing for their own families to evacuate and arrange for pets. And we tell them even right now, have a plan now, because 2 days before the storm, we're gonna be activating everybody to help support our communities. A lot of it's communicating, not just emergency managers, but with all of our fire departments to make sure that we have a coordinated response. And we're going to respond. Our mission is really twofold. Number one, make sure you get out, and then the message from emergency management to evacuate is heeded, because we don't want you here during a storm. And then so not everybody heeds that. So we're going to respond as much as we can, as late as we can, and in as deplorable conditions as we possibly can, as long as it's safe to do so for our responders. At some point, we will stop responding. The fire department will stop responding. We coordinate that though, because we don't want the fire to be there without us. We don't want to be there without fire, because as trees and stuff fall down, sometimes they have to cut their way with us out of an area and even into an area. So it gets really complicated and really dangerous for our responders, for those people who do stay in the medical emergencies. But our main thing is preparing with getting the message out, get prescriptions filled in advance, make sure that you have a partner with your hospital, to have the healthcare provider outside of the area that when you do or wherever you evacuate, that you can continue your healthcare, continue your medications, and just leave the area, and law enforcement will have your property and we'll work hard to get you guys back in here safely.
Thank you, Dave. Ryan Kunitzer, Fire Chief, St. John's Fire District. We're your fire department for both Kiowa and Seabrook Island, and Johns Island and Womble as well too. So we cover a large area. What we do as part of whether it's a hurricane, tornadoes, earthquakes, we're kind of your boots on the ground along with Charleston County EMS that are responding to incidents as they're happening as well too. Even before those incidents though, we do quite a bit of preparations, particularly for hurricanes. Same as Dave's crew, we upstaff a lot of our fire stations and our apparatus. We get chainsaws ready. I've got a big cache of chainsaws. I don't, have to tell you how if you go down Bohicket Road, how many trees will fall on Bohicket Road. During a storm, it's numerous, but all of these things impact operations, whether it's on Kiowa or Seabrook or coming to and from. It's really our crews that are out that are clearing trees. We're still responding to medical incidents. We've had, even in storms before, structure fires. So we're kind of your boots on the ground that are still responding to incidents. St. John's, before a storm, we develop our own MIOC as well too. What that is Municipal Emergency Operations Center. So we have our own fire department staff, and we're managing incidents from that one location. So whether it's an incident at Kiowa, Seabrook, Johns Island, we're going to manage those incidents from that EOC, so we can put our personnel in the right positions and spots to effectively respond to incidents and mitigate those as well too. Just as Chief Abrams said too, there comes a point in some of these storms though where it's not safe for our personnel to be out. I've kind of lost track of some of these storms. I believe it was Irma, our crews were working on River Road, and they were responding to a tree down, and then a tree falls on the other side of them, and they actually have to cut their way out. And at that point we said, it's probably not great for our people to be out in these conditions as well too. So those are some considerations. So think about that if you do choose to stay, no matter what that kind of storm looks like, that at some point it's not safe for my personnel to be out there as well too. So take that into consideration when you're making plans for these storms, because they're not safe for our people as well too. But we're going to do everything we can up until the last possible minute to provide you the best service possible. And we'll be there as soon as the storm ends. Our crews are going out and doing initial damage assessments and starting to clear trees and opening pathways to our stations and off the island as well too, so that we can get ambulances, fire trucks, and everything through, so we can get to you faster.
Good morning. My name is Craig Harris, the Director of Public Safety for Kiowa Island. And on this panel, we worked, I would say, over 20-some years together. Retired from Mount Pleasant Police Department for 26 years, and been in the town for 3 years. So I know you guys keep hearing boots on the ground. We're the ones actually here when we're telling you to either evacuate or stay in your house. We're the one outside, so I guess we're the crazy ones looking at the storms over our head. But I'm glad to see the amount of people out here to get the word out when we finish getting information from us today, because it's very serious. And one thing I've came across over 20-some years is the communication, and that's the biggest thing. Communication. We on this panel collaborate every day about storms, about any critical incidents, and the significant factor for me is the fact that I have to get all this information to give it out to the community. So you guys on this panel trusting me to do my job, I would like to make sure I get it to you guys enough time so you can prepare your family as well. We operate our EOC at the town hall during any type of critical or a major incident such as a storm. And we work hand-on with KICA, the resort, and our utilities and our CERT members. So we work together and we communicate before, during, and after the storm. So we're the first one here, we're the last one to leave.
Good morning, I'm Erin Pomrick. I'm the town of Kiowa's communications manager. My team and I are the ones sending, if you live in Kiowa, we're the ones sending you the code red messages, the e-newsletters, and social media updates. If you have not signed up for Code Red, I'm going to encourage you to please sign up no matter which town you are in. There's a table in the back, and we have staff here who can help you with that. Those emergency messages are very important during any of those critical incidents. It just lets you know what's going on the island. So I encourage you to do that.
Good morning, my name is Abby Grooms. I'm the communications manager for Seabrook Island. I'm a new face for many of you. I started back in March, but I come from ABC News 4, like Trooper Bob said. I worked there for 7 years, so I have worked many hurricanes and many storms in the low country. So my overall goal for Seabrook is just to communicate safe messages and collaborate with everyone at this table to make sure you guys are aware of what's going on and keeping you guys safe. And I will back her up with saying, please sign up for Code Red if you have not.
All right, our scenario today is that Hurricane Bob, a Category 4 hurricane, is being tracked in the South Carolina coast is a vulnerable area of the hurricane's path. Even if the hurricane remains at sea, the coast could see tropical force storm winds and flooding. I'd like to pass a couple questions over to Derrec on this side. Derrec, if you don't mind, how long before a storm does the state and county begin to prepare?
Well, we're preparing right now on a beautiful day where the sky is blue and everybody else on the planet's on vacation. But we refine the state's hurricane plan every single year. In fact, this week you're going to see the South Carolina Department of Public Safety doing their annual hurricane evacuation exercise along the interstates where they practice reversing the lanes of traffic and everything. So that's types of preparations. They happen every single year. Now, when it looks like something's starting to head towards us, or it forms off the coast of Africa and starts marching across and it looks like we're in the cone of death, we might start to ramp up operations a little bit, as do our county emergency operations centers. But everything is situationally dependent on the storm. We could have a very fast-moving storm, or we could have a very slow-moving storm. We've seen those. Matthew, Florence, Dorian, they were all very different. Or my favorite are the ones that come up through Florida and tear it, all that hell, and then scare us and then go off and hit the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So I mean, that's kind of where we're at right now. But we are very reliant on the forecasts from the National Hurricane Center and our local meteorologists at the National Weather Service offices. And so if they start to get nervous or they start to get excited, we really do pay attention. And then once we're sharing all of our information, we're talking about activating emergency operations centers. If you follow us on social media, we've probably already talked about it and said, hey, check this out, here's another one, or something along those lines. And once it starts looking like, unfortunately, we might get either a glancing blow or the direct impact, then we start to bring in all of our other partner state agencies and make sure all of our first responders have what they need. Answer your question?
You did, thoroughly. Hold the mic, because I want to ask you a couple more, if you don't mind, since we'll keep the mic on this end. But one thing you mentioned earlier was knowing your zone.
Yes.
I can tell you Charleston County is a big county. During hurricane, everyone punches in, let's say, Columbia and their GPS, and GPS is going to take you the fastest route on Interstate 26, right? But not everyone has to leave the low country on Interstate 26. So how important is it for you to know your zone?
Zone A, that's what you're in right now. That's pretty much where Kiowa and Seabrook live and will continue to live forever. Why? The Atlantic's right there. Zone A, Charleston County, that's all you need to know. If you live on Kiowa Island or Seabrook, Zone A, you're good to go. The way we evacuate everyone is the entire coastline has been broken up into zones. Each county has a set of zones, and we just redrew them this year. It's the first time in 12 years that they had been redrawn. New technology, better storm surge modeling, because that's why we evacuate for storm. We evacuate for storm surge potential, not wind. High from wind, one from water. And then you'll see, hopefully, fewer evacuations or fewer people evacuating, or the same amount of people, just in fewer spots, because we've had so many people move into South Carolina, just in the last 5 years alone. And hopefully, they will be much more efficient. If you don't know your zone and you feel you need to evacuate, if you don't know where you're going, or you don't know your evacuation route, as we say, know your zone, remember your route, just look for the blue hurricane evacuation signs. They will get you to safety. Here, I think most of it's to I-26. There might be some routes that take you up the back way through Aiken, but that's mostly for here it's I-26.
All right, what efforts are coordinated before the storm?
All. I think, we try to factor in as much as we can. One of the big things that is an ongoing process is our emergency shelters. Our counties have that responsibility with our Department of Social Services and the Red Cross, and knowing where they are, how to find them. We have several tools, the shelters, if you need to stay in a shelter. Of course, we always say they are life rafts, not cruise ships. Make your own arrangements, please. Go to Greenwood, go to the mountains, go to Tennessee for a weekend, come back, it'll be fine. Go to SCEMD.org, and we'll have a live shelter list if, unfortunately, you do have to go to an emergency shelter to ride out the storm. Pets, animals, take them with you, by all means. So there's that. Simple logistics, like making sure we have enough resources in our disaster supply warehouse to get help very quickly. And then, of course, there's the other disasters that we're currently working, tornado responses and that sort of thing.
Derrec, just two quick questions for you since you have the mic there. When it looks like there will be an impact on the county or city, when do regular communications with these agencies begin with?
Well, they happen continuously, day-to-day emergency management stuff, but our hurricane program manager will start to send out emails to all the county emergency management directors and the folks that work for them, really once something starts to form. And by about mid-August, those become weekly if not daily emails, depending on the severity of the season. It's like, oh, there's another one from so-and-so, great. And the ones that they send out at 4:30 on a Friday afternoon are a joy, I can assure you. Look at this thing that you might be dealing with over the weekend, that we all might be dealing with, especially Labor Day. Watch out for that one. But those regular communications, then we work with our private sector partners and making sure that they have the information as well. Typically, about the time the Weather Channel starts to talk, we've already been talking a little bit. Like I say, we don't typically have to tell you a hurricane's coming. The Weather Channel's done that, but we tell you what you need to do, or what you should be doing, or what you should be thinking about doing, and all of those types of things. It's up to you whether or not we want to do it, but we highly recommend you do. Does that make any sense?
They practice the hurricane reversal every year, and you'll see that here shortly.
They will not actually reverse.
They don't reverse the lanes, but they practice it because we have new people that come on board, not just with the Howard Patrol, with the local agencies. The National Guard also plays a big part with that, with their tow trucks too, assisting DOT. So a lot of components, everything from communication to where they're going to eat, how they're going to, where they're going to stay, all that's prepared during the practice module there. And one last question, Derrec, what key messages do you want residents to know before a storm impacts their area?
Sure. One key, the biggest message, especially for the residents of Kiowa and Seabrook, is when your town starts to pack up and activate its continuity of government plan, you need to think about doing the same thing. They need to pack up and head elsewhere. That means it's probably going to be serious. Just like Ryan was saying, there are not many routes here, and even a glancing blow from the storm could impact sewer, water, your ability to get out and get help, or help to come in like an ambulance, especially if you're trying to clean up. Chainsaw injuries are horrible, And imagine an ambulance not being able to get to you. So those are some of the reasons we issue evacuations, not necessarily the big old, yes, the storm is dangerous, but also will you have access to your normal amenities so that you can live your life. The ability to use the restroom is a mighty powerful motivator. I'm telling you that right now. So please consider that. If there's and if the answer is anything other than yes, leave. That's the big one. Evacuation compliance has been a big issue in the last few storms. It has been several years, since 2019, since we've issued an evacuation. So that's been a long time. It doesn't seem like it's been that long for us. Since a product age, I'm not sure. So no, they're not made hastily. The decision for the governor to issue an evacuation. It's all of these people. It's a ton more experts, hurricane centers saying, yes, the storm is coming, you probably need to do it. When the storm surge, the planning is going to be so great that you need to evacuate. So please take that into consideration when you are doing your own planning. And if you need help, we've got tons of hurricane guides. We have a mobile app that you can download, the SC Emergency Manager mobile app. There's the Know Your Zone tools in those, and of course our website, scemd.org. And the online hurricane guide, hurricane.sc, is all available to you, and we're going to be here all day if you have any specific questions.
Thank you very much, Derrec. If we could pass the microphone down to Craig. Craig, all the way down to keep this on the island here. Craig, how long before a storm does the town begin to prepare?
Just like Derrec said, we actually prepare now. Of course, some of our e-blasts, we had our own tabletop exercise to prepare and train staff members on to-dos and the don'ts. And I want to say, actually, this is the first time that Key Island was actually being part of a county-wide closed exercise that started today. Just getting text on my phone already from Charleston County, some of the other scenarios that we will be preparing for on the 5th. But we do a lot of training with county and the state, as well as federal programs when we look at emergency preparedness. So with that, and we also collaborate with other partners such as Kika in the resort to make sure that we are looking at what happened last year, we can do better for next year.
Next question is for you, Craig. What agency is the lead in Kiowa Island for activating the Emergency Operations Center?
That will be the town. Actually, the town hall take the lead on operating and activating the EOC Center. And this is where we all fall into one entity. I am your EOC manager, and we have other section members who are certified for these things, such as planning and operation, communication specialists. We all trained through the county and state to hold those positions and carry it out.
And when it looks like there's going to be an impact on a county or city, or when do regular communications begin with these agencies?
That's a good question. Actually, you guys should have seen an e-blast came out last week, starting to get you guys prepared. We try to prepare every year before the season starts. You know, we want people to start thinking about preparation. So this way in advance, you'll be getting more emails and communication as he said, it starts tomorrow. So we're already working on some more stuff to put out. But please take the message serious. Please, as Aaron said, please sign up for these alert notification. And actually, that's one of the main I guess, project, and I'll let Aaron talk about it. That's one of the main projects that we try to push is getting people to sign up for our alert notification. Because the more you use the system, the better it is to get the information real time.
Two more questions for you, Craig. One of them is, what efforts are coordinated before the storm?
A lot of planning among us, planning for our family, a lot of planning, a lot of collaboration with all of our partners, and again, training, and a lot of praying.
And your last question, who is responsible for lowering the ponds on Kiowa Island, and why did they lower the ponds?
That will be Kika, partners, their job, that's one of their main responsibility. The reason why we do that, because it kind of helps with damaging any infrastructure that may occur during major storms.
We'll pass the mic on to the chief next to you there. Chief, what preparations is the fire department making prior to a storm?
Sure, I'll echo what everybody said. We're planning right now. We do some internal tests as well too that kind of test our preparedness. We've got several new people in new leadership positions, but they're excited to kind of tackle some of these issues that come up for us internally as well too. But we have a dedicated budget line item just for disaster storms and recovery. So we're getting our chainsaws stocked, safety equipment, anything we really need to mitigate that storm, making sure our high water vehicle is ready to go as well too, because it's not just a wind event, it's as you know, talk about lowering pond, it's also a significant water event as well too, and that's where we see a lot of the issues happen as well, and issues with our vehicles. So we prepared generators to make sure our stations can stay up and operating for at least a week after the storm. So really we just start, it's kind of a year-round process for us as well too. We start back in February, take a look at what we need for the coming year, and start just working on it. It's always kind of at the top of our mind.
And Chief, one last question for you. What key messages do you want residents to know before the storm impacts the area?
Yeah, no, it's going to be a busy time for everybody, right? We talk about kind of these storms. It already kind of heightens people a little bit to, it's uncomfortable to think there's a category 4. Hurricane Bob is, we've probably been tracking, and we see all these fancy weather images as well too, of all these different colors of the Doppler radars, but we know it's serious as well too. So everybody's kind of on a heightened alert. And again, we talk about patience. That's not necessarily patience on the roads, but patience at the grocery store, patience at the bank, wherever stops you're making before you're hopefully leaving out of town as well too. So kind of keep those in mind that we're going to be busy as well too, but our first priority is to respond to your emergency. If you need extra assistance, whether that's helping someone get out of the house, we can help you do that as well too. You just have to call us. Doesn't mean we can move furniture or take care of your pets, but if you specifically need help, that's what we're there to do. Just know that it's a busy time for us as well.
That's a good point we made earlier. Also, the weather is unpredictable. I mean, they can project to the best they can of where the storm will go, but water is unpredictable. You don't know where it's going to go, how high it's going to get, how much you're going to get. This next question is for Captain Burrell. Captain, what preparations are being made by the police department prior to a storm?
So the sheriff's office continually updates the traffic management plan that we have. We have a lot of new deputies, so we're putting them in places where to direct you off the island or get you back on the island. Closer to the storm, whenever Charleston County starts going a little bit crazy, we go to 12-hour emergency shifts. We pretty much cut half the agency on day shift, half the agency on night shift, spread out. I would say that you should probably, if something's coming, you're gonna know it's coming if Jim Cantor's on the beach over here. But like everybody's saying, especially, all your medications, make sure your cars are full of gas. Make sure you have blankets, flashlights, water in your car before you leave. Don't wait to the last minute to leave, because as you know, and as I just saw coming here from North Charleston, the traffic in Main and 17 is absolutely horrible. So we will take over that intersection when it's needed to properly direct everybody off Johns Island to points south or points northwest, something like that. But I do believe that I saw Zone A actually goes to Savannah Highway, and you're supposed to turn left and go south to Highway 64, I think it is, to go points west. Family's the biggest thing. If you have family in Georgia, Tennessee, the Northeast somewhere, hey, we're coming to visit for a couple weeks. You know, we're talking about evacuation, but I think the biggest stressor for me would be trying to get back to my house, seeing the kind of damage. So if I'm standing at the traffic circle in Freshfields and you come up to me and say, hey, I want to go see my house, and Kiowa and law enforcement is like, nobody can get on the island right now. Please understand, when I turn you around, it's not because I want to turn you around, it's because I have to turn you around. Because my house in North Charleston just got destroyed also, but I'm on Betsy Garrison, trying to mitigate the return of homeowners. And I'm telling you, patience and stress. They're stressed every time we get behind the wheel of a car to get off this island and to get back on this island. So just bear with us and we will get you home and we'll get you out of here.
And you're right, 17 to 20 days.
So if you leave early, here's the thing. So you know that they changed the reversal to the Nexton Parkway exit because there was a lot of talk, a lot of communicating about cutting off Rivers Avenue at I-26, so you couldn't cross I-26 to get to Rivers, couldn't get Rivers Avenue to get back over to Dorchester Road. So I think that might have been part of the plan to move it to Nexton. If you leave early, make a right, get on the interstate, go up 17 to Myrtle Beach, points that way. But if the governor says mandatory evacuation, you need to leave now, we're gonna be telling you which way to go. And please be patient when I say, you've gotta turn left, but I wanna go that way because I need gas. Were you in the meeting when I said you should have gas? So just, yeah, that's good.
You made a good point about the vehicles. Pretty much, if your engine light's on now, it's gonna be on during a storm. So get all that stuff prepared. I can tell you by changing, and we've changed hundreds of tires, probably thousands of tires on the interstate. Please check your spare tire. Make sure you have a jack. Make sure you have a spare that's pumped up, because during a storm, a lot of places aren't open. If you're on a hurricane route, those routes are manned by law enforcement, DOT, National Guard, but they're not gonna have the jacks. They're not gonna have your spare tire your size. Make sure all your vehicle your entire vehicle is in good working order before the storm. And Captain, one quick question, and you named a couple of these things, but any other key messages you want residents to know before the storm?
So I'm sure everybody in here has an emergency plan in place if something happens to you health-wise or your home or something like that. So I would suggest when you go, if you have to evacuate, take one of those Expandiflex folders with your wills, your insurance, all your important paperwork that might get destroyed by a Cat 4 storm that hits your house. Take that with you, have that in a safe spot. I'm gonna tell you a quick story, and this has nothing to do with hurricanes. When my mom and dad were in a serious 3-car fatality accident in Venice, Florida. Their paper, they survived. 3 people died. 2 cars. Both of their neighbors died. The result of that was we couldn't find their stuff at the house when we went down there because mom and dad were in the hospital. We're rummaging through mom and dad's stuff, trying to find insurance stuff, trying to find the wills. So my sisters and I both went and bought one of those Expandiflex, just plastic folders that you can get at Target, Walmart, and we put all their important papers in there. So if one of them passes, or heaven forbid, both of them get killed in an accident, we can go and we can find that stuff. We know where it is. And they update it monthly or every 6 months with your car insurance, stuff like that. So think about the people that are gonna be coming to your home trying to find paperwork for insurance and your wills and all your stocks and whatever important stuff that you have. Keep that in a central location, in a safe. Our stuff's in safe. So just be mindful of that.
Thank you there, Captain. This next 2 questions there is for David Abrams. Next to you there. David, what preparations is EMS making prior to the storm?
EMS, we've taken the notion, kind of like what you've heard up here, is that we live in a really disaster-prone area, not just for the hurricanes, but we pretty much have 5 to 6 months of medical supplies already in queue at our main logistics hub up in North Charleston. So we've always prepared for that so that we can have a long-term sustainability no matter what kind of disaster we have in the area, even if we don't get any future supplies. But around this time, we're getting pallets of MREs, the meals ready to eat, as well as pallets of water, because as you've heard emergency management mention, is that if a storm hits, the main concern is that you're not going to have sewer, you're not going to have water, you're not going to have electricity, air conditioning, all the fine amenities we grown accustomed to for at least a week. I know during Hugo, I was in Sumter and we couldn't flush the toilet for a week. So I was having to pull water out and backfill the toilets. My grandmother consistently used the toilet that was farthest from the pool, of course. So and she kept flushing the toilet. So I have a disdain for just how actually cumbersome it can be. And so that's why I think you hear from us about stressing for the medication to evacuate. But we're preparing for that with having our own water and our MREs and stuff ready to help augment our staff. We always take a look at our disaster plan this time period. Our operations folks, I think Chief Kunitzer and my operations folks they communicate, they start kind of rally as far as what resources we have. We check wind speed meters, which we now have literally throughout the entire county. I know just a few years ago, we didn't have any wind speeds. But with emergency management, fire departments, EMS, we all got together with law enforcement and we have dozens of real-time wind speed meters throughout the county, so we can make real-time decisions about when we can and can't operate throughout the whole county. So these are the things that we've done to help prepare so that we have the information to operate during a storm and help recover after the storm. And I waited for Trooper Bob to walk away before I stopped.
You guys seen any good shows lately?
All right. So the Low Country is expected to see a significant impact from Hurricane Bob, and the Berry Islands are particularly vulnerable. It is expected it will be a Category 2 or 3 by this time until it reaches the coast, within 5 to 7 feet of storm surge and sustained winds of 100 miles an hour. The governor has issued evacuation order for the coastal communities in Charleston, Kiowa, and Seabrook Islands, are both under a state of emergency. Derek, who can issue the state of emergency?
The governor. Now, you'll see your town, your county do some either proclamations of emergency or even a direct state of emergency, and that enables them to do some local planning and stuff. But the one on the books is the governor's state of emergency, and that mobilizes all of the state, local resources to enable us to coordinate, and share information, and coordinate resources too.
All right, and what support is provided during the storm?
It could be anything that any of our local county or first responders need, whether it be resources for evacuation assistance, ambulances from out of the state if we don't have enough, tarps, bottled water, shelter type information. We get a lot of requests for generators. We get a lot of requests for just staffing support for emergency operations centers. Post-disaster, everything. Toilets, refrigerators, all of those types of things. We start getting requests.
All right, they got a message, I got a question for Abby and Aaron over there at the end there. We'll pass the mic down to them. Aaron, what are the main messages that you want residents to know at this stage?
This is the evacuation stage.
Yes.
So of course we would send out and let you know that evacuation orders have been in place. We will encourage you to please listen to those instructions and also tell you where the routes are so you know where to go. We'll also encourage you to have all of your stuff. Before this point, we would encourage you to already have some belongings together, so your valuables, any medicines that you might need, anything that you will need over a long potential period of time. to take with you. We'll also encourage you to have, before this point, an emergency kit with a couple days of food. So if, for example, the grocery stores are very overwhelmed, you will already have those supplies with you to take with you. And then, of course, as was already mentioned, hopefully your vehicle is already gassed up and you're ready to go, or you may be in a couple of lines. And then, of course, we'll continue to send out any traffic or safety information that we have during that time.
And Seabrook will be doing the exact same thing, making sure all of our residents are prepared. If anything is an emergency, it will be sent out via code red, but also our town website will have all of the updates on it. Typically, if the hurricane is a stronger storm, like a category 3 or 4, our website actually goes into emergency mode, so all of the updates we get from the county and the governor will be directly on our front page, so they're very easy to find. You can also go back and find updates that we have sent out already, so it's in a timely order. And then we also have a town e-newsletter, so if you guys are not signed up for it on Seabrook, you can do it at that back table back there. We will also be sending them directly to your email as well.
This question is for the chief, the fire chief there. If residents do not evacuate, what will it mean for them in terms of first responder support?
Sure, if residents don't evacuate, you'll see a reduction in service. So like I said, before, it depends on the storm. We're gonna respond as quick as we can, as long as we can. Again, it's a safety issue for us as well too. So what you will see is you may make a 911 call and you could see a reduction in service to where we're actually holding that call pending until conditions can improve as well too. Again, we'll do that right up until the last minute as well too. That's not just a wind thing, that's a water issue as well too. There was, I believe it was Hurricane Irma, we destroyed a fire truck going to a call because of the salt water and high levels of water as well too. So those are all things we have to kind of keep in mind, but a reduction in service, as much as we don't like to hear that, is possible.
And Chief, since you have a microphone there, does the fire department provide additional notifications to residents, such as loudspeaker system?
So traditionally what we'll do is if an evacuation has been ordered, we'll share that same information that you're getting from the towns and from county emergency management things as well too. The loudspeaker days, we haven't done that really in the past as well too. We feel like that you get a pretty good message from email, and we're all connected to our phones these days as well too, so you'll get that message. It's really a reliance on y'all as well too to kind of converse with your neighbors and talk about your plans, what you're doing, and say, yeah, it's time to go. Let's go. Do you need help with anything? Fire department can help you as well too.
All right, at this point, if we have any questions in the audience to our expert panel, I'd like to do it, take about 10 minutes to do it this time. They've discussed a lot, but you might have a question that someone didn't answer yet.
I just want to make notion that a couple of us here are on the CERT team on Kiowa Island and have had training in the past and wondering the usability of that team.
CERT team? Craig.
So with the CERT team, as depending on the storm, mostly if it's a certain category, more likely will be relocated as well. We're looking at before and during. After the storm is when you will see hear anything about CERT team being used for helping to get people back on the island and help restore the island. But during, before, safety is the first thing. And if we relocate, I'm pretty sure there won't be anybody on the island. So this is mainly afterwards.
I know someone had their hand up also. Yes, sir.
Under what conditions is the National Guard activated?
Do you want to do that?
I can take that one.
The Emergency Management Division for the state is part of the Department of the Military, so our boss is General McCartney. So that in part, but we're on the state side, the state government side. The National Guard is typically activated just as part of an automatic process when it comes to hurricanes, because we know they'll be needed at least to back up DPS and sheriff's offices and local traffic control points during the evacuation process. When it comes to post-storm, and we're talking search and rescue, their missions then get reassigned.
Let me follow.
Yep.
just to follow up on Derrec, what typically happens for a lot of municipalities, including us, and we've done this before as well in some of the storms, is any additional resources we think that we're going to need. We have a whole system called Palmetto where we put in things that request that we need. If I need 10 pallets of water, I can put that request in. So same thing, whether that's teams with extra boats, swift water rescue teams, whether that's National Guard's got high water vehicles with floatable boats and stuff as well too. We'll typically make those requests before the storm comes, depending on the conditions of the storms. And then once a lot of times we're given those assets because they're taken, everybody's asking for probably the same thing as well too. Those get coordinated through the state EMD. Those assets come and then they're under our command for what they need to be deployed for. So if it's we haven't had to do this yet, thankfully, but we have a bad post-storm, we'll start deploying those assets to do, initial search and rescue, things like that.
I can tell you one of the things that the National Guard, they help with the tow trucks, with the very large tractor trailers in case a hurricane route is clogged up with a wreck. I can tell you from past experience through these scenarios, we've had scenarios where a horse trailer flipped over and the horses are running around. And they run everything out that they could. And also before the storm, just like at local agencies, a lot of it's all staged. And if let's say it hits Beaufort and it's clear to go, then everyone goes down there. But a lot of it's all staged along the coast and inland to wait for exactly where that impact will be.
Yeah, Bob, to kind of real quickly follow up on that, tell your kids and grandchildren as well, when they're driving and they're on these evacuation routes, to just get off your phone. That's probably the cause of, I know from Johns Island, that's a cause of a lot of our car accidents as well too. But focus on the road, focus where you're going. Everybody's trying to get trying to get out in the same destination. So accidents really clog up the whole system. So.
Absolutely. Let's say a question in the back. Yes, sir.
I think it's for Captain Burrell. Is there some point at which you decide to make all the lanes off the island going off the island, and there aren't any incoming lanes?
That's a great question. We've never done that.
That would take a lot of manpower.
That would take a lot of manpower that would be every street, driveways. We could probably definitely stop the ingress from, let's say, Main 17 trying to get onto Johns Island and only allow outbound traffic. That way you've got the entirety of Bohicket Road and Main Road to get out. That's a great question. I'm writing that down.
You still have to let us in though. In the fire department.
Well, we will play nice with the fire department. That's great. Yes, sir. We'll do everything we can to get you out. There'll be deputy sheriffs on Bohicket, Main, River Road, depending on when you decide to leave or if you wait till the last minute. I think one thing that if you decide to stay, make that phone call to somebody away from here saying, hey, we're staying, we'll be in contact. I would not do it, but make sure somebody knows that you're staying.
We'll take one more question so we can stay on time for the schedule, and then we'll continue. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for Dr. Harris. You know how the island just swells in the summer, think Labor Day, there's just lots of people here. If I remember correctly, sometimes don't they ask people who come in for vacations or renters to leave earlier, or no?
It all depends on the level of the category of the storm. Everything is almost like a case by case, but we try to do the best we can in advance, especially to our community members, to get things out in advance. And if it looks like it's going to be an impact, then we'll have to make some adjustments, even with the visitors. So it just depends on the outcomes before.